So JD has lost the first step in his appeal, and on top of that, the very same day, you have headlines like this dropping. Warner Brothers has confirmed that Mads Mikkelsen will be replacing JD as Grindelwald in Fantastic Beasts 3. Now, as far as that first part goes, you and I, we're going to talk about how that came about, what exactly can be done, how things are going from here, because you know what? Things, they're far from over. On that second part, yeah, we're going to talk about that too, and ooh, buckle up, because like I said, things, they are just getting started. So hey there, folks. I hope you're having a fantastic day, because today, you and I, we are returning to that wonderful, wonderful world of Johnny Depp coverage for some stuff that I really don't like covering, but, you know, the reality is this is going on, so we need to talk about it. Now, before we get started on this, let me say this too. This isn't about celebrity, this isn't about Hollywood, and this isn't about the headlines that it creates. What this is a person's life and livelihood, a career that they span through decades. It's all being taken apart by innuendo. And whether we're talking about Warner, whether we're talking about Disney, or whether we're talking about what happened in the UK, this stuff, it's not justice. It's just us. And well, look who exactly that applies to. Now, having said that, despite how these headlines read, they don't exactly reflect reality. I mean, if you read this, despite JD's appeal, looks like he's going to have to shell out lots of cash for that case. That's not exactly true. And the reason that that's not exactly true, well, let's tune in to a few posts on these subjects, because you know what? This is a nuanced subject, isn't one that the media gets right. So yeah, let's look at what the nuance says. Now, this post, it comes to us from the real Laura B. That's at LAURABOCKOV. Props to them, give them a follow. But they say, update, JD versus NGN. You know, that's the Sun News Group newspaper. First level appeal denied by Justice Nichols. Now, there's two things to take from that first statement here. Number one, first level appeal. Imagine yourself walking up a staircase. If you step on one step, are you through? No, by no means are you. The second part of this is Justice Nichols, denied by Justice Nichols. That's the person that decided the case in the first place. So are you really surprised that this first step, it was denied by this person? Now, JD, it continues, will now consult with his team if he should move on directly to higher court of appeals. Now, this is the associated screenshot. I want to read this to you and pay close attention to how this works. Now, this is from the lawsuit thread. This is also from the same poster. And you note this, quote, permission to appeal can be sought from the lower court at the hearing in which the appeal decision is made. Alternatively, the lower court may adjourn the hearing in order to give a party time to apply for permission to appeal. Where permission is refused by the lower court, permission can be sought directly from the appeal court. It is possible to apply directly to the appeal court for permission. However, you notice this, however, given that the application to the lower court is relatively informal and does not require any additional filings to be made, very little is gained by not first seeking permission from the lower court. Now, this thread continues with some very good posts saying, quote, they followed the natural accepted route, or they might have risked, I'm going to say, peeving off, yeah, that's right, peeving off the Court of Appeals if they leapfrog over Nichols. Now they can say that they followed the rules and tried. And that's right. You know, if you went in and you circumvented him, yeah, you might have gotten your decision, but, well, you might have gotten something that you might not have liked out of that, too. Isn't that messed up as well? The very judge that makes the decision can say, hey, I don't want to give you an appeal. I mean, really, imagine that. Then they continue with a statement that I think very much is the truth. Virginia, that's talking about the 2021 trial, is more important anyway. See what happens and support JD's decision either way. Now, I think that that part is true. Virginia, you know, you see a head-to-head with two parties, and yeah, I think that that's going to be massively important. See, if you look at some of the stuff that's been coming out of Virginia, regardless of what the decision is at the end of all of that, that, the information that is coming out about it, wow, it truly surpasses anything that you saw in the UK. But continuing here, Team Depp talking about Shillings here. They followed the proper protocol to file with Nickel, giving him a chance to correct himself. They expected this outcome. And yes, they followed proper protocol. Again, you have the expectation that the judge that made this decision is going to say, yeah, I am the end all. I am the be all. So, of course, you should expect the outcome. Next, they can file with the Court of Appeals. Now, to speak a little bit more on why this ended up with Justice Nichols, well, we're going to turn to Grief. That's at 0GRE3F. Definitely follow them on Twitter, too. And after this, we'll talk about the timeline for appeal. But they say, right, I need to see the decision, but the reason it landed with Nickel is because Schilling must have lodged notice on the day of handing down. There are two ways to lodge permission to the court in question. Number 1, during judgment notice period. 2, on handing down. Now, discussing the notice period, they continue. The notice period was given 7 days prior. If you lodged then, judge will say in the judgment if refused or granted. So, this indicates how surprised JD's lawyers were. They then waited for the hand down and asked then. They then have 21 days, so lodged Monday, which is correct. Now, they then talk about the Court of Appeals, which we'll discuss in just a second in more depth. But they say, there is no way to predict which court appeal is sought from because orders of this kind are not public. Nickel then received, review, decided. No hearing, no notice of decision yet. JD has 7 days to go to the Court of Appeals. Going back to Nickel suggests they are grounds of law. Now, I'm not saying that's going to make things easy. Oh, not in any way. You can see this discussion here talking about that too. Sorry, I'm still confused. If you had to guess, what do you think Schilling's strategy is? I noticed you said it would be trickier now, so this isn't just a formality. And here's your answer. They're going to have to incorporate his reasoning now and anything that flows from it on top of the already lodged grounds. And that's where you usually run out of road. So, yeah, it's not good news by any means, but the way that the media put it together, many of them are leaving out this portion. So I want to read it all to you here. Now, the Times reports that following the appeal denial over the case decision, JD, he must place £628,000 in legal costs to the Sun, which roughly converts to $840,000. That said, JD's legal team can look into taking the case to the Court of Appeals should they wish to continue, although they have to do so by December the 7th. Still, even for an actor of Depp's stature, having to pay close to $1 million is nothing to sneeze at. Now, as far as the appeal process is concerned, here's some more information about that. And you can see our poster here at JASPER__JUDE. And again, props to everybody that participates in this conversation. Like they say here, the lower court may grant permission, but this is unusual as it is a way of saying that the judge accepts the decision may not be right. So now the deadline will be for 7 days to get to the Court of Appeal. Now you notice the day range difference. That first day range, by the way, was reported by the media, but here's something explaining the appeals process. And listen to this. I actually like the way this reads. So the appeal process. We have several different tiers to our legal system. Most of our cases, they branch out of the administrative court, which is a branch of the high court. The appeal route from there is the Court of Appeal and thence the Supreme Court. So the Court of Appeal. In most cases, permission to appeal to the Court of Appeal is required. The lower court may grant permission, but this is unusual as it is a way of saying that the judge accepts the decision may not be right. Now really take that in. You would have to have a judge that really, we've talked about their connections in that, say, you know what, I think that my decision here, it may not be right. It's somehow suspect. suspect. Do you think that that's going to come in? Continuing, more often permission is refused and one has to apply for permission from the Court of Appeal itself. Now, it is vital to initiate this process quickly. One has to lodge an appellant notice within 21 days of the decision to be appealed along with the grounds of appeal. This is relatively easy to do as the information required is not great. Nevertheless, full documentation and a skeletal argument in support have to be provided shortly after that. In cases where permission for judicial review is refused by the High Court, the appellant's notice must be lodged within 1 week. So you see that time frame there. Continuing, refused permission. A decision is made, usually on paper, by a Lord Lady Justice of Appeal. The prospective appellant must show that the proposed appeal stands a realistic prospect of success. If permission to appeal is refused at that stage, that is the end of the matter. One cannot take it further to the Supreme Court because you will have been refused twice in the High Court and the Court of Appeal. Now that's not a good thing there. In this sense, the Court of Appeal is therefore a court of last instance and as a matter of law must refer points to European law that they are not declared to the Court of Justice to the European Union. In practice of such courts, the Lord Lady Justices hearing the application for permission will usually adjourn the matter to a full 3-person court for further consideration. So they go with the refused and granted, so you can see how that goes together. Now, on the very same day all of this stuff is happening, you have this pop up as well. And this isn't the only thing that happened today either. Oh no, you had L'Oreal. We know that certain nameless party, they are the spokesman for L'Oreal, by the way. They put out a coordinated campaign talking about DV. You also had 2 million signatures hit another petition out there. And then you have this. Mads Mikkelsen will replace Johnny Depp as Grindelwald in Fantastic Beasts. Now, personally, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in coordination, and I think we've seen a lot of it. I think there are people coordinating behind the scenes. I think that they are going out and they're deciding to wreck somebody. And I would say, if you follow the proverbial breadcrumbs, you wouldn't just find companies behind this. You would find individuals behind it. And I would be fascinated to know their motivation. This stuff, though, like I said, we're not dealing with headlines here. We're not dealing with one move, then the next move. We're dealing with a person's life. And well, when you look at this stuff, it is absolutely crazy. This stuff shouldn't stand. But anyway, you let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about this coming out on the same day, too. Because I thought, oh, what a mess. I like Mads Mikkelsen as well. I love him as Hannibal, but this move, oh, it sets my teeth on edge. It's not about him. It's about Warner. And yeah, keep that in your head, too. But anyway, let me know what you think about this. And as always, I appreciate you showing up. Appreciate you helping out with this. You make these endeavors work. Without you, none of it does. So thank you. Also, if you want to help the channel out, there are links in the description, including our luscious comic book. We're only a few sales away from a major milestone, too. So check that out. And as always, thank you. I appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.